All right, Evan, let's start today with the Denver Broncos. Broncos win a wild, controversial game in overtime over the Bills, move on to the AFC Championship game. We'll get to that in a second. But first, Evan, we can't bury the lead. Broncos starter Bo Nix fractured his ankle during the overtime period, needs surgery, is done for the season, which means Jarrett Stidham will start Sunday's AFC Championship game at Mile High against the Patriots. Evan, thoughts on the Bo Nix situation and Jarrett Stidham's outlook here?
I mean, it's very unfortunate, obviously. In the divisional round, Sean Payton built his game plan around Bo Nix. According to Luca Evans of the Denver Post, Bo Nix either dropped back to pass or scrambled on 85% of the Broncos' offensive snaps. We thought that this was, a good matchup. It was a good matchup on paper for RJ Harvey, but this was a game plan built around Bo Nix. Now he's gone. Enter Jarrett Stidham, who was drafted by the 2019 Patriots in the 4th round by Josh McDaniels and Bill Belichick. Josh McDaniels, then when he got the Raiders head coaching job, traded for Jarrett Stidham. He went to McDaniels got fired. Jarrett Stidham ends up in free agency. Sean Payton, on the first day of free agency to begin the Sean Payton era, signed Jarrett Stidham to a 2-year, $10 million deal. And then this past March extended him for 2 years and $12 million. So, whatever you think of Josh McDaniels as a head coach, obviously he did not work out as a head coach, but he's clearly one of the top offensive minds in the NFL. He holds Jarrett Stidham in high regard. Sean Payton, one of the greatest offensive minds in NFL history, holds Jarrett Stidham in high regard. This is going to be a really, really difficult matchup. I mean, my goodness, the Patriots defense is playing at an elite level right now. But I think that Jarrett Stidham can be competent. We've seen him play in the NFL, and he has not looked, out of place, I should say.
Jarrett Stidham has gone over 219 yards in all 4 of his NFL starts. His best start was his first NFL start. This was in week 17 of the 2022 season. He gets his first start against the 49ers defense, which was playing its starters there and was really, really good that season, one of the best in the league. Stidham shows up, and he had Darren Waller, he had Devontae Adams, shows up 23 of 34, 365 yards, 3 touchdowns, 2 interceptions, 0 sacks taken. He's only started 3 more games since then. He's at 7.2 yards per attempt on his career, which is middle of the pack for a starter. I do want to say, though, I'm optimistic about Stidham also, but Sean Payton saw Jarrett Stidham for a year and decided to use the 12th overall pick on Bo Nix. It's not like he said, oh, man, Stiddy's going to be our guy. We got Stiddy now. He was like, you know what? Let's take Bo Nix at 12th overall. So I thought that kind of, spoke volumes. I do not think that Jarrett Stidham is on the same level as Bo Nix. I also think the market has overreacted somewhat. We're talking about almost a 7-point swing in the line. I think Broncos would have been roughly -1, -1.5 against the Patriots. It is now Patriots -5.5. And that is all due to the quarterback swing there. I think that swing is too far, but I do think Bo Nix is much, much, much better than Jarrett Stidham, especially from a mobility standpoint. The last thing I'd say on Stidham for now, he knows the system. He's been with Sean Payton for 3 years. He is not going to be overwhelmed by the moment, I don't think, and I do not think he's going to have any problems handling the scheme, handling the offense. He knows this scheme. He's been there for 3 years. So, yeah, it's really, really interesting. It sucks as a lifelong Broncos fan since last month who was at the game on Saturday. It's just devastating to walk out to the parking lot thinking that we're going to be a big favorite here. And I use the term we very literally. We are going to be a big favorite here in the AFC Championship game. And it turns out that Bo Nix broke his ankle on a play no one even saw. And now we have to go to Jarrett Stidham. So, yeah, crazy, crazy run out for sure. Okay, a couple more thoughts on the actual game here. The big surprise to me, Evan mentioned, it was how throw heavy the Broncos game plan was. They finished with 50 Bo Nix dropbacks against 10 running back carries. And when they did call running back runs, Jaleel McLaughlin got 4. RJ Harvey only got 6. Now, snaps were 45 for RJ Harvey, 10 for McLaughlin, 14 for Tyler Batty. or bidet, but still a reminder that like Sean Payton will do anything at any time. Also, news out of the running back room, J.K. Dobbins has been out since week 10 with a foot injury, a Liz Frank injury. He had his practice window opened. They're saying he might be able to play Sunday. I don't know about that, but Dobbins has been better than RJ Harvey as a runner. I mean, Dobbins was at 5.0 yards per carry on 153 carries. RJ Harvey is down to 3.7 yards per carry on his 150 carries. Dobbins also has 5 carries of 20 plus yards this season. Harvey just has 3. So I think it would be a boost for them, Evan, if they got J.K. Dobbins back. But I'm not convinced that they are. Any more thoughts on the backfield? Again, it was more McLaughlin than I thought that it would be in that game on Saturday.
Yeah, I'm still kind of on the fence about RJ Harvey. I mean, I think he's definitely an NFL caliber back, but what kind of a back is he? And I think that the Broncos have and look, Sean Payton absolutely believes in, multi-back committees. He's done that almost his entire coaching career, but I think the way that it kind of suggests to me that Sean Payton doesn't necessarily see RJ Harvey as a carry the load type of running back. And I don't think that he's shown us enough for us to believe that he's capable of that. And before J.K. Dobbins went down, he was the clear lead back over RJ Harvey. He was averaging 18.2 touches per game, as you mentioned, 5 yards per carry. I think that they would love to have J.K. Dobbins back here and have RJ Harvey as the number 2 go-to guy as a receiver and used sometimes in scoring position.
Yeah, we'll see. I think it's more likely Dobbins returns for the Super Bowl than this game coming up, the AFC Championship, but we shall see. The wide receiver stuff was a mess. We had a pretty nice projection on Pat Bryant in this game. Looked like he was moving well ahead of Troy Franklin. Looked like we were going to be
balling out the gates, man.
Right out of the gates. First 3 pass plays. Pat Bryant for 12. Pat Bryant for 15. Pat Bryant for 5. Those were 3 of the first 4 plays of the game. On that last catch, sustains a concussion. He misses the rest of the game. Also, Troy Franklin, after 9 routes, he pulls his hamstring. He's out the rest of the game. And so routes on those 50 Bo Nix dropbacks in this game were Cortland Sutton, 45, Lil Jordan Humphrey, 36, Marvin Mims, 35. I mean, people talk about the weapons that Josh Allen was left with. It's not like the Patriots or the Broncos have great weapons here either. Again, you're out there with Cortland Sutton, Lil Jordan Humphrey, and Marvin Mims, who absolutely balled. So we'll see on the status of Franklin and Pat Bryant, but Marvin Mims showed what he can do. We've talked about this for years, Evan. Like, ever since Marvin Mims was drafted by Sean Payton, it was super exciting. He's made plays anytime he's gotten chances. Sean Payton does not give him a lot of chances. He was forced to here in the biggest game of the season, and Marvin Mims comes up huge. So, yeah, thoughts on how sticky that stuff is in the wide receiver situation in Denver?
It's going to come down to the health, I think, of Pat Bryant and Troy Franklin. With Troy Franklin, he's an 170-pound, speed perimeter receiver who, I mean, he's not going to be able to play if his hamstring is messed up. And then, with Pat Bryant, obviously, it's just getting through the concussion protocol. But you're right. I mean, Marvin Mims, when he's had opportunities and they've been limited, my goodness, I mean, his yards per route, he's unbelievable in the return game. He's been one of the best returners in the NFL for the last 3 years. Really good with the ball in his hands. So, I mean, I'd like to see him get more opportunities. I mean, I feel like when he doesn't mess up his opportunities. It's, for whatever reason, Sean Payton has not committed to him as a featured receiver, but he certainly was a featured receiver in this game against Buffalo. And I think he will be again, pending the health of Pat Bryant and Troy Franklin.
I do, and I do not think that Sean Payton is going to change the game plan that much for Stidham. In other words, if he wants to be throw heavy in this game, he's still going to be throw heavy in this game. And I think the preseason will give them some confidence. I know people hate when I talk about the preseason. Jared Stidham was unreal this preseason, like maybe the best quarterback in all of the NFL in 2 games that he played a lot of this preseason. Last thing I'd say, Evan, and we talked about this last week, this Broncos defense, they made big plays in this game. They made some huge plays, but they also still gave up 5.8 yards per play. They didn't dominate Chris Oladukin. They gave up 5.1 yards per play to the Jags, 5.7 to the Packers. I mean, we can go all the way back to that Mariota game when the Commanders scored 26 against Denver. So, yes, they still continue to make big plays. They're still super talented, but it's been weird to see teams just kind of go right up and down the field on this Denver defense a lot lately. And that to me, that's like not as big a concern as the Stidham stuff, but that's the second biggest concern for Broncos behind the Stidham stuff. The defense is not being elite since the bye by any stretch whatsoever. So, yeah, really, really interesting game coming up. We'll talk more about the Patriots in a second. All right. On the other side, the Bills. Bills lose the game. Really, really tough one to lose. The Josh Allen fumble at the end of the first half was ridiculous. Some very controversial calls, including the Brandon Cooks one. That play happened like right in front of me in real time. I thought it was a catch, but these days, or really for the last decade or 2 decades, I don't really know what a catch is anymore anyways. So it's very, very controversial play, whatever. That stuff happens all the time. On Monday, though, Bills make the decision to fire head coach Sean McDermott and promote the guy who put this roster together in Brandon Beane. Evan, your thoughts on the Bills' performance Sunday and the decision to fire Sean McDermott?
I just would be, if I was a Bills fan, I would be really pissed off about them firing Sean McDermott and not only keeping Brandon Beane, but promoting him, because he's the guy who I think through hubris, pride, decided that we're just gonna get receivers off the scrap heap, and by the freaking divisional round, Brandon Cooks is the best wide receiver that you have. I mean, that's wild that he's going to get away with that. Not only that, but now gets a promotion. And if you read the fine print of the press release, Brandon Beane, one of the duties that he's adding through his promotion that is entirely undeserved is that he's going to oversee the coaching staff. So Brandon Beane is going to hire the Bills' next coach. And to me, like, this is how functional organizations become dysfunctional, because now it's like about power. It's about so I think that Brandon Beane might want to hire the least dynamic head coach that he possibly can so he can maintain his control over the team as long as he possibly can, instead of getting into a power struggle that he might lose and the coach winds up with the power. This is how a team becomes dysfunctional.
This guy really got on my radar on my bad side when he went on that radio show and was like, this isn't fantasy football. You can't just go get a bunch of wide receivers. And it turns out, man, a 4th round pick for Rashid Shaheed probably would have been a good move. You don't need to make fun. You don't have to make fun of fantasy football. It probably would have been a good real life move. It probably would have been a good real life move to try to address the wide receiver position earlier. In his defense, I will say, like I just talked about, Broncos are in the AFC Championship game with Lil Jordan Humphrey and Marvin Mims running a ton of routes. Patriots are in the AFC Championship game with Kayshon Boutte and, a dusty version of Stephon Diggs and Pop Douglas out there making big plays also. So from that perspective, I get it. I do think, though, that if I own the Bills, if you want to fire McDermott, you got to get rid of Beane. You can't do one. I don't really have a take on if you should fire McDermott or not. You have Josh Allen. You've never been to the Super Bowl. You're 8-8 in the playoffs, right? I get it if you want to fire Sean McDermott, but I just think Beane has to go also if you fire McDermott. So
yeah, and I don't even care that so much that Brandon Beane ripped on fantasy football. I care that he cost, potentially, very arguably cost Josh Allen, who is on a trajectory to be one of the greatest quarterbacks of all time, a chance to win the Super Bowl in a great year, in a wide open year, with his hubris when it came to, the wide receiver position. By the divisional round, Khalil Shakir was the Bills' number 1 receiver. He had a 2.4 yard ADOT. Okay, we like Khalil Shakir. He'd be a great third receiver. It's a joke that he's your number 1.
Yeah.
Okay, Brandon Cooks, 32 years old and signed with the Bills in week 13. He's your number 1 perimeter receiver. And then your third receiver was Keon Coleman, who was a recurring healthy scratch. That's your top 3 receiver. That is what you were arming your future Hall of Fame quarterback with. And it's really, really disappointing, because I hate it when guys that are awesome don't win a Super Bowl, because then, the talking heads can always hold that against them.
Yeah.
And that's where we are with Josh Allen right now.
Yeah. So many QB wins people out there disrespecting Josh Allen. Yeah, and I will say I thought McDermott did a really good job with the defense. I know they got shredded in the run game a lot this year, but given what they had on defense, they were pretty good unit. So, from that perspective, I thought McDermott did a good job. Last thing I'd say, just like watching the game there live, I kind of had like the all 22 view. When Dalton Kincaid was out there, he is actually like a dynamic player who separates and gets open. It's not Brandon Beane's fault or Sean McDermott's fault that Dalton Kincaid could not stay healthy. But I do think if he had turned into like an 80% of the routes guy, a 90% of the routes guy, that would have made a difference. And he played a really, really good game here. We talked about on Friday how good of a matchup this was for Kincaid. We just didn't know how healthy he was. He only ran like 60% of the routes or something. But again, that's enough for him to be kind of a featured player for this team. He has to figure out a way to stay healthy next season. Let's go to the other AFC game, New England Patriots. There was some weather in Foxborough for this game on Sunday, and the Texans defense is outrageously good. Like, I think way better than the Broncos and even decently better than the Seahawks. So I know that people want to kill Drake May here for taking 5 more sacks, throwing an interception, losing 2 fumbles. I get it. Drake May was not good, but whether Texans defense, Drake May still makes enough plays to win 28-16. When you play the Texans defense, that kind of just is what it is. So, Evan, what do you think of Patriots' performance against the Texans on Sunday?
Well, the guy that really stood out to me is your boy. All of a sudden, your boy, out of nowhere, your boy, Kayshon Boutte, who was unbelievable. He's the weirdest player, too, because, he was like he was a huge recruit going into college. And then, quarterback issues, whatever, performance. And he winds up going, I believe, the 6th round. And here he is. He's leading the team. And he played a ton of snaps over the course of the season when he was healthy. He was there. I think he led the team. He led the team at wide receiver in snaps when he was healthy. He did here as well, correct? Yes.
He led the team in routes, yes.
Yes. Through 2 playoff games, Kayshon Boutte he's caught 7 of 9 targets for 141 yards, 16 yards per catch, and a touchdown. In the regular season, he had a 75% catch rate on throws from Drake May. He's not an elite athlete. He ran like 4.5, but he is a downfield receiver. And, man, the strength in his hands that he showed in this game in traffic, making the one-handed catch, which, by the way, I thought that they were going to take it away from him. Because if you look at it, he pulls it in, and he goes to the ground, and it kind of hits the ground, and it's moving when it hits the ground. I was like, oh, man, they're going to take this away. They did not, though. But, yeah, the strength in his hands was really, really impressive in this particular game, and he's been an absolute stud for them in the playoffs.
In really difficult matchups also, he's been
right. Yeah, the touchdown was against Derek Stingley.
Yeah.
I mean,
it's no joke. Now, I think they'd be insane. Mac Hollins is eligible to come off of IR this week. I think they'd be insane to put Mac Hollins back in there. I know coaches love to play Mac Hollins. I know they love his blocking and everything. Kayshon Boutte, this team actually needs, because they don't have that many other dynamic pieces whatsoever. Routes in this game against the Texans were Boutte 29, Steph Diggs 28, Kai Williams 15, Pop Douglas 14, Chisholm just 3. So, yeah, I mean, I think they need Boutte's playmaking out there at a minimum. The other thing that happened in this game, we always talk about the running backs. Ramondre Stevenson had an eye issue for a while, and that allowed TreVeyon Henderson to get a bit more work. But still, once Ramondre got medically cleared off the eye issue, they went back to him hard. He outcarries TreVeyon Henderson 16-12, 4 targets to 2, snaps were 40-25 in favor of Ramondre. The gap might have been even wider if not for the eye thing. So clearly Ramondre, the feature back here for the Patriots, as we've been talking about for the last month or so heading into the AFC Championship game. But yeah, I haven't mentioned the defense. I mean, we talked about this last week.
TreVeyon has not been good lately, by the way.
Yeah.
He's at 2.6 yards per touch on 23 touches in the playoffs. Ramondre Stevenson is at 6.3 yards per touch through 34 touches in the playoffs. So Ramondre continues to clearly separate himself from TreVeyon Henderson.
Agreed. Evan mentioned the Patriots defense. Like right now, forget about what's happened this whole season. Right now, if you told me you thought Patriots defense was actually better at limiting offense, not necessarily at pressure or making big plays, but at just limiting offense, you could maybe convince me Patriots defense is better. I mean, since they got Milton Williams and Spillane back, their defense has been absolutely rocking. Now, I understand this was against CJ Stroud, who we'll get to in a second, who was a mess. Herbert was a mess the previous week. But I think it's an interesting question, Evan. Who would you rather have right now? Broncos defense or Patriots defense heading into the AFC Championship game?
That's a great question. My goodness. I think that I would go with the Patriots. I mean, their ability to generate pressure. According to Pro Football Focus, through 2 playoff games, the Patriots have generated 72 pressures. They just deleted the Chargers offense. They deleted the Texans offense. And I understand that, CJ Stroud, I mean, that's a whole nother thing.
Yep.
But the Patriots generating pressure right now, and they're so well coached and well schemed. I think I would take the Patriots straight up over the Broncos defense right now.
Okay. I don't disagree. Texans, the offseason story will be CJ Stroud. It's just a complicated situation because rookie year, he overperformed. I mean, there's no doubt CJ Stroud overperformed his rookie year. Since then, I think he's underperformed, but he's also dealt with league worst offensive line play. I don't think the scheme has been great either. The run game has been broken. So you can make a lot of excuses for CJ Stroud, but I can't deny he's been bad for a lot of this season. And in this game against the Patriots, I mean, the discourse was just like CJ Stroud's the worst quarterback in the history of the NFL. So, Evan, any final thoughts on Texans as they come out of this Patriots game as they head into the offseason?
Well, in this playoffs, he might have been the worst quarterback in the history of NFL postseason football because CJ Stroud in 2 games became the first player ever to have 5 or more interceptions and 5 or more fumbles in a postseason, and he did it in only 2 games. So, I mean, it's gotten that bad to where, I think that the Texans have to bring in some level of competition. We know that, I mean, Davis Mills is a good backup. We definitely know that. But, like, he's not a guy that, could maybe be the solution for the Texans. So they got to start looking at different options. And in fairness to him, I mean, he was without Nico Collins and Dalton Schultz, and his offensive line isn't good. But man, I mean, he has not just plateaued, he has regressed from that remarkable rookie season. And there are a bunch of different explanations floating around. He doesn't love football. He's not that smart, which I disagree. I totally disagree with that. It's because stemming from that K2 test or whatever. And I'm not talking about this viral clip that's going around of him calling himself a top 5 quarterback, which actually at the time that he said that, it wasn't crazy to call him a top 5 quarterback. But I mean, what was the show that he did with Renner? And it might have been Micah Parsons.
Yeah, it was like a draft.
He is a very astute dude.
Yeah, draft preview show, yeah.
Yeah. He's a very astute guy. I don't have any issues with his intelligence, but some people are suggesting that could be the case. I mean, I just think that he's just not as good as what he showed as a rookie, and he has not been able to overcome, great quarterbacks can overcome adversity around them, and he has not, and he's kind of like, gone into a shell because of the adversity around him.
I mean, it doesn't help that the run game is broken, right? Woody Marks, 14 carries for 17 yards here. Woody Marks could not run all season, just could not generate anything hardly, was not using the pass game, couldn't run inside. Like, if you're not going to throw it to him, running him inside is not the greatest idea. So I'm very curious what they do with the running back position this offseason. I think Nick Chubb is probably done. Jawar Jordan, a borderline NFL player. So I'm very curious what they do there. Speaking of the offseason, a lot of rumors out there, or at least reports, Tank Dell might be back, which I thought his career might be done. But now they're saying off of that dislocated left kneecap, torn ligaments in his knee in December of 2024, he might be back for the 2026 season, which would be good. The most baffling
He was a difference maker.
Oh, yeah. I mean,
Dell.
Last time CJ Stroud
Awesome
played really
player.
well, Tank Dell was balling, and I don't know that that's like a coincidence. Like Tank Dell was absolutely balling. The Jalen Noel stuff, it's just so weird to me. He only ran 3 routes on Sunday, even with Nico Collins out. I understand that Xavier Hutchinson plays outside and Noel plays the slot, but like you're desperate for someone to give you some juice. And we saw in midseason, Jalen Noel gave them a lot of juice, and they just refused to ever put him back in. They refused to ever really use him, no matter who was out. It seemed like they just did not want to play Jalen Noel. So
yeah, there's something else going on there.
Something has to be going on, because you do not just not use the guy when you need him, when you need playmakers so bad. Xavier Hutchinson, 3 out of the 4 Stroud interceptions were targeted at Xavier Hutchinson. There's no better way to get closer to the action than with the DraftKings Daily Fantasy. Right now, our partners at DK are giving new customers a shot to play free for their share of millions in prizes with their first deposit on the DK app. Simply download the DraftKings DFS app and enter promo code ETR during sign up to play free for your share of millions with your first deposit. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. In New York, call 877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY at 467-369. In Connecticut, help is available for problem gambling. Call 888-879-7777 or visit ccpg.org. 18 plus in most eligible states, but age varies by jurisdiction. Eligibility restrictions apply. Void where prohibited. Minimum $5 deposit required. One single use $3 ticket rewarded. That expires in 14 days. Ends March 31st. See terms at DraftKings.com/promotions. Let's go to the NFC now. We'll start with the Los Angeles Rams. It was very cold, snowy conditions in Chicago. Rams go there and somehow win 20-17 in overtime, even though Matthew Stafford throws 0 touchdowns and completes just 48% of his passes, even though the defense gives up one of the most ridiculous game-tying touchdowns you'll ever see on the Caleb Williams to Cole Kmet drop back 26 yards, chuck it up to Kmet play. But still, Rams escape. Evan, what do you think of their performance in Chicago?
It's funny. I think that obviously Sean McVay and now Ben Johnson are two of the best coaches in the NFL. And I don't think that either of them coached particularly well in this game. And I think that Sean McVay would tell you that straight up. I think that actually the best coaching job in this game was by Dennis Allen, who just did a remarkable job of getting shots at the quarterback, shots at Matthew Stafford by blitzing defensive backs and playing a bunch of dime defense. I mean, I thought that Puka Nacua was just going to have his way with the Bears all game long. I think the Rams anticipated that as well because, and we'll talk about it a little bit more, but they played a lot of 11 personnel, 3 receivers. And I think they wanted to attack the Bears. I think they definitely wanted to attack the Bears with the passing game. But Dennis Allen coached well enough that this was one of Stafford's worst games. Mm-hmm. And Puka, I mean, what did he finish? 5 for 56 on 10 targets. You hold him to that, and you're thinking like the Bears, and the Bears did have a chance to win. But you're thinking that the Bears could win this game. And Dennis Allen coached well enough for the Bears to win this game. You know, comes down to overtime.
It's been a while. Go ahead, sorry. It's been a while since Matthew Stafford played like a really good game. The Panthers in the wild card round, that was a struggle. In week 18, they were trying to win. They went all out. Matthew Stafford did not play great against the Cardinals. He was pretty bad, Stafford was, in that game against the Falcons Monday night, week 17. So it's been a while since Stafford really played a good game. And like, I'm trying to think of reasons why they abandoned their heavy tight end personnel. And just for anyone who missed it, the Rams went back to 11 personnel on almost all their plays here. That is not the way they played this year. For most of the year, the Rams were one of the most heavy 2 tight end and 3 tight end teams. In this game, it was Adams and Puka for 41 out of 46 routes, Whittington 25 routes, Mumfield 24, tight ends, Parkinson only 20 routes out of 46 dropbacks. Ferguson, 18 routes out of 46 dropbacks. And Higbee, who I actually liked in this game, I thought Higbee would be a difference maker for them. He only ran 8 routes. Only 8 routes in this game for Tyler Higbee. So my thought was, I mean, I had a few thoughts. My thought was they just wanted to like surprise Chicago, and they thought that this was their best way to win this game because they had not been playing that great on offense lately. Let's go back to 11 personnel and see if that can spark us. But there's a lot of other theories out there. Dink has some, which I can talk about. But yeah, do you think this will be sticky, Evan? And thoughts on the Rams going back to 3 wide receiver sets against the Bears?
And it was also a little bit surprising, at least in hindsight, because the Rams had so many quality, high success rate chunk runs up the middle. Kevin Dotson blocked. I mean, his return was huge for their running game. Kevin Dotson, their starting right guard, had been out since week 16. He was PFF's highest rated offensive player in the game. The Rams did not have any truly long runs. That's not Kyron Williams' game. Their long run on the game was 10 yards, but they had so many successful between the tackles runs, and yet they remained pass first. So, I mean, I just think that that was their game plan. I don't think that you go to Seattle with that game plan. I think that we will see a lot more 12 and 13 personnel, the 2 tight ends, the 3 tight ends when they go to Seattle. I think that this was just specific to this game, and they diagnosed it poorly because the Bears came to play defensively, especially in pass defense.
Yeah, we're gonna project it for them to go mostly back to the heavy tight end stuff. Last time the Rams and the Seahawks met, they were in a lot of heavy tight end stuff. Stafford went 29 of 49 for 457 yards, 3 touchdowns, 0 interceptions. That was in Seattle in that overtime loss. So this will be the third time these teams are meeting. Awesome, awesome game coming up in the NFC Championship for sure. Bears. I mean, Bears overperformed this year. You know, it was Ben Johnson's first year. They won 11 games. They hosted a divisional round game that they could have won. Certainly a good season. And yeah, I can pick apart Caleb Williams from an advanced stats perspective, underlying metrics. There's some scary stuff in there in Caleb Williams' profile. But if you just watch, like, the dude is clearly special, and not all that can be explained by a lot of the advanced stats stuff. So, Evan, thoughts on Bears game and their outlook heading into the offseason?
Yeah, with Caleb, he's obviously so capable of the spectacular, maybe more so than almost any quarterback in the NFL. How about him as a runner? That
Yeah.
late run in this game was unbelievable. How strong he is. He can break tackles. Not only is he super fast, but he can legit break tackles. But his accuracy on a play-to-play basis can be so frustrating, man. There were so many throws that were catchable, but they were behind receivers. Like, he's got to get a little bit better with his anticipatory throws. He also didn't. God, Rome Odunze, my goodness, man. I mean, Rome Odunze had 4 targets and 3 drops or something like that in this game. I mean, he was awful. They had a potential touchdown on the third play of the game that would have been so freaking huge, man. And he dropped it. I mean, the throw was a little bit behind him, and there were 2 guys colliding on him. So, I mean, look, it's a tough play, but this is the divisional round. This is to go to the NFC Championship game. This is a chance for a first drive touchdown, and, I mean, that's a drop as far as I'm concerned. Since the Bears' Week 5 bye, Rome Odunze caught 28 of 67 targets, 41.8% catch rate from Rome Odunze. I mean, he was not a good player this year. DJ Moore, I think, is definitely – they're going to find a way to get him out the door.
Yeah.
Everybody's seen the lazy route that he ran at the end of the game, which I don't even think that ball could have been caught because I don't think it was a very good throw. But at least DJ Moore could have been there to break it up. But he was just totally lackadaisical on his route. That was the game-ending interception. I think that Cole Kmet, for salary concerns, he could be on the door. And we may see a little bit of makeover in the Bears receiver core this offseason. Obviously, Colston Loveland is a gift from God.
Yeah.
But, the other guys, they have some work to do in the pass catcher core.
And they're going to have some work to do on the salary cap, and that could lead to the release of guys like Cole Kmet and maybe a trade of a guy like DJ Moore, who people are just killing, as Evan said, for the route that he ran. If Kmet does end up getting cut, the price on Colston Loveland, it's not just going to be Evan talking about Colston Loveland going very, very, very high in fantasy. It's going to be everyone, assuming that Cole Kmet ends up cut, and maybe even not, because, I mean, Colston Loveland is obviously a huge hit. Luther Burden is a huge hit. Ben Johnson is a big hit. Kyle Monangai is a hit. Caleb Williams is a hit. Like, I get that you were excited going into this offseason. I don't want the Bears to think that they're like the Commanders last year. Like, Commanders ran so hot with Jaden Daniels' rookie year in close games, had some ridiculous comebacks. I mean, the Bears, how many times were the Bears like 5% win probability and won? They must have won like 4 or 5 of those games. That does not mean you should go in and sign a bunch of old guys like the Commanders did in the offseason. So I hope that the Bears continue on this upward trajectory with young guys, and that means make Colston Loveland play every snap. Find a way for Luther Burden to play every snap and keep getting better that way. Caleb, like, I know I said I wasn't going to talk about the analytics on his completion percentage stuff. I just want to note it's not even analytics. He only completed 58.1% of his passes this season. That was 38th out of 42 qualifiers. Only J.J. McCarthy, Brady Cook, Davis Mills, and Shadur Sanders were worse at completing passes. Okay, so he has to improve that. That is not like I'm not saying he's bad. I'm not saying he sucks. I understand he makes all these plays that don't show up in the stats at the right times in games. You got to complete more than 58% of your passes. Like, you just have to.
Maybe if Roma Dunze could catch.
Maybe if Roma Dunze could catch. All right. Let's go to the other game. Seahawks were very well rested and very healthy heading into this divisional game against the tired, brutally injured 49ers. And it was never really a game. I mean, Rashid Shaheed takes back the opening kickoff, 95 yards for a touchdown. It's 24-6 at halftime, ends 41-6. The two big stories were Sam Darnold's oblique injury that he sustained Thursday. I don't really think it affected him, but then again, he only dropped back 19 times in the game. And second, Zach Charbonnet leaves after just 8 snaps with a knee injury. Turns out Zach Charbonnet, unfortunately, tore his ACL. So, Evan, what do you think of Seattle's performance in their blowout of the 49ers on Sunday?
Just to stick on that Zach Charbonnet thing, so I know that Kenneth Walker went nuts in this game, and the fantasy community, so many people in the fantasy community loved Kenneth Walker entering the season and felt hurt by him because he did not get where they wanted him to go, and that was kind of like their redemption, moment. But I'll tell you, I think Zach Charbonnet, Seattle losing him is a big deal because he's so good in blitz protection. And now I wonder if the Rams test that with Kenneth Walker and blitz a lot, because Kenneth Walker is not as proficient in pass blocking as Zach Charbonnet was. I mean, if I was the Seahawks offensive coordinator, I would be worried about that.
Mm-hmm. I mean, and Zach Charbonnet has been their primary short yardage back also. Not that Kenneth Walker can't do it, but they have much preferred Zach Charbonnet in almost all short yardage situations. But yeah, I mean, we know Walker has this in him. I know he didn't show it a ton this year, but in this game, I mean, his backups are going to be like Velus Jones, maybe George Halani. I mean, Kenneth Walker might touch the ball 20, 25 times here. We're going to have a very big projection on him, even though I am a bit worried, like Evan said, about them trying to ask Kenneth Walker to pass protect here a ton. And also just
Mike McDonald also talked about after the game about how Charles Cross is still not where they need him to be physically. Mm-hmm. He left this game late. He's going to be fine. I mean, not going to be fine, I should say. He's going to play in the NFC Championship game, but he is not at 100%. So I think that you can already kind of see how Rams defensive coordinator Chris Shula is going to attack this game. It's going to have to be a lot of pressure.
And the Rams defense is not the 49ers. We talked on Friday about people were like, oh, see, the 49ers defense, they can play. They shut down the Eagles. Look, Eagles defense was broken. That was to me, it was not an impressive performance from 49ers defense just because Eagles offense was so broken. Now, though, Seahawks have to face Rams defense, not this 49ers unit. Going to be much, much different again. Should be an awesome game.
One more thing on Rashid Shaheed. We get frustrated and complain about his usage as a receiver. I mean, even in this game, he had 2 targets and no catches. But the Seahawks are loving that they traded for Rashid Shaheed in real life. He's unplayable in fantasy, essentially. But he's really helping the Seahawks, obviously, in the return game.
Yeah, Shaheed ran 12 routes on 19 dropbacks in this game. Cooper Kupp ran 15 routes. A.J. Barner 15 routes. But yeah, Cooper Kupp played one of his better games of the season here. But yeah, Darnold was only forced to drop back 19 times. I didn't think the oblique really looked like it affected him. Did you think the oblique was an issue at all, Evan?
No, not even a little bit.
Yeah. So one thing about Sam Darnold we know is that pressure affects him at an outsized rate compared to other NFL quarterbacks. He went to the Rams mid-season, had his worst game of the year, 0 touchdowns, 4 interceptions, did bounce back somewhat in that 38-37 overtime win. But again, the goal of the Rams and everyone who plays Darnold is to get pressure. The 49ers just are incapable of getting pressure on any quarterback. And so it was a really good matchup for Darnold there. Worst one here against the Rams, obviously. All right. 49ers. I mean, I can't believe I'm saying this, Evan, but I feel like the story of the 49ers offseason is going to be this power plant that's next to their practice facility. I mean, the team cannot stay healthy. Now we reportedly have players telling their agents they don't want to play there because this power plant thing. I have no idea what's true and what's not, but they suffer so many injuries every year, and that ruined their entire season again this year. So any thoughts on the 49ers game and any thoughts as they head into their offseason?
I mean, it came down to that. They just ran out of dudes, you know?
Yeah.
Even Trent Williams after the game was like, you know, they asked him what happened. He's like, we lost the best tight end in football, you know, and we couldn't function as an offense. Brock Purdy averaged 4.24 seconds in time to throw. And that's an indication of confusion. I saw there was a YouTube commenter last week that used the statistic that Justin Herbert had taken 3.5 seconds time to throw in the previous game, and he thought that was like an indication that the Chargers had protected him well. No, that's an indication of like confusion and lack of decisiveness. Doesn't know where to go with the football, and that's what happened to Brock Purdy here.
Yeah.
4.2 seconds time to throw. That is not good.
Just looking to the offseason for the 49ers, I mean, the news on George Kittle's Achilles is good. The doctors are saying that it is the kind of Achilles tear that he has a chance to come back from early next season, maybe as soon as week 1. But I mean, they're getting old, man. I mean, how much does Trent Williams have left? Christian McCaffrey is old. The Ayuk situation is a disaster. Jawan Jennings is a free agent. Ricky Pearsall can't stay healthy. I mean, they have a lot of questions. The good thing that they have is an incredible coaching performance from Kyle Shanahan. I know there's a lot of people out there that don't like his in-game stuff, but from a schematic perspective, I mean, Kyle Shanahan is unreal. And anytime you have him, you're going to be in the mix. But they got to start getting younger and more talent and younger, like real soon. All right. That is going to do it for this team-by-team preview of the conference championships. We will be back next week for team-by-team ahead of the Super Bowl. Evan and I will be back either Thursday or Friday for the DFS slate preview for in-season subscribers. In the meantime, don't forget about NBA. Do not forget about the golf on establishtheRun.com. For Evan, producer Ryan, producer Luke, I'm Adam. Good luck, everybody.